Hi, this is Brian, and this is my overview of maps for the application domain of emergency management. Now, the first map I'd like to talk about is this one. This is sort of a classic map of Hurricane Camille from 1969. And for this assignment, I think it's a good example of showing some basic concepts of mapping. This was originally, obviously, a paper map that was scanned in from 1969. You can see down here, it's using the Lambert conformal conic projection. In conic projections, as it implies, because there are cones, sort of have this circular kind of view, and this is typically what the continental United States is shown at, and they even include some projection information on the standard parallels, which what I learned in the map projections video was where the projection surface touches the model of the Earth being made, and it uses standard lines of latitude and longitude to show the progression of the hurricane. Um, this next map is almost more of an infographic than a map. I would consider this a small scale map because it's showing the entire Earth, and it seems to be using sort of the classic Mercator type projection with distortions being shown. And you can see that the goal of this map is really to show disaster induced displacement and so forth. There's really no information on coordinate systems or anything like that. However, one might argue that this map is maybe not the best map projection to show this kind of information because really small areas like South Sudan, Madagascar, the Philippines kind of are being morphed out when compared to bigger areas and so forth. So there's different kinds of map projections that might be better for this kind of small scale mapping. Now this one is the from the World Food Program logistics map. Um, this is maybe somewhere between a small scale and large scale. It's kind of hard to say when you get to this kind of viewing level. You're looking at the whole country, 100 kilometers. They're using standard latitude and longitude, 72 west to 74 west. And if anything, my comments on this map are more on the cartography versus the projections and so forth. It's really, really cluttered in here. It's really hard to read a lot of this stuff. But one would presume that they're using a effective map projection not to distort shapes and areas, especially for something like logistics, where it's important how things are moved and so forth, especially in a context like Haiti and so forth. This is another sort of infographic, also kind of large scale, and again, no real coordinate or projection information on here. But I think this map does a better job, whatever projection they are actually using, of kind of showing the Indian subcontinent. And again, this map is combining a lot of other infographics um, in terms of economic damage and so forth. So they're using the space and the layout in conjunction with the projection info to show this, threats to India from natural disasters. Okay, now there is one other map of sorts I wanted to look at, and that's the Google Crisis Map. Now, I thought this would be interesting. This can allow me to get maybe a little more large scale. Now, of course, Google started what's called the Web Mercator projection, which, from what I've learned about Mercator, is makes distortions in size at the polar regions. That's your classic sort of view that Greenland is this giant, massive thing, and so forth, and Antarctica is this giant thing coming to swallow up the rest of the Earth. Which, of course, that's not really how it works. But as we saw in my other example, that was how the world was being shown and the problems that can cause in terms of areas. Now, I wanted to use an interactive map because I can zoom in a little closer and take a look here. Now, those kind of distortions will not be as prominent when I look down here. This looks like this is a rain situation around Indiana and so forth. Okay. Google does not provide coordinate information beyond, as you probably know, if you can you even do that in this one? No, it doesn't look like you can even. Sometimes in regular Google Maps, of course, you can click and get coordinates. So in some sense, this would be a little difficult perhaps to use. Let's see if I do a search. Yeah, and they're using the, it looks like the topography background. But in some sense, having coordinates, which if we go to regular Google Maps, we know that if we go anywhere and click somewhere, we get a decimal degree coordinate, which could be helpful if we wanted to share this information out. So that's my take on maps for the emergency management context and some thoughts on these maps with map scale, projections, and coordinate systems.